After my family emptied my savings to cover my sister's reckless spending, they showed up at my house insisting I sell my home to save her again. It's our money, too, my mother yelled. So I slid a folder across the table. Her face dreamed of color when she opened it.
The rain was relentless that night, hammering the streets of Seattle like 1,000 tiny fists. I pushed through the revolving door of my condo building near Pike Place Market, my sneakers squeaking on the polished marble floor. It was 9:47 p.m., and I was bone-tired after a 12-hour shift at the tech firm, where I'd clawed my way to senior cybersecurity analyst. My briefcase swung heavy in my hand, stuffed with notes for a client presentation that could make or break my newly minted promotion. All I wanted was a glass of Pinot Noir, a hot shower, and 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. But as I stepped off the elevator onto the 7th floor, the air shifted. Something was wrong. My front door, the sturdy oak one I'd triple-locked every night since moving in, was ajar. I froze, my pulse spiking. The hallway's fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, casting long shadows that seemed to pulse with my heartbeat. I'd lived in this 900-square-foot condo for 5 years, every inch a testament to my grind. Late nights debugging code, weekends freelancing to pay off student loans, meals of instant ramen when my bank account dipped into double digits. This place was my sanctuary, my proof that I, Emma Harper, 34, could build something solid from the ashes of a family that had burned through my dreams. And now someone had violated it. I nudged the door open with my foot, my phone clutched in one hand, 911 pre-dialed but not yet called. The living room was dark, the only light spilling from the neon glow of the city through my floor-to-ceiling windows. My thrift store couch, my meticulously organized bookshelf, my framed University of Washington diploma, they were all untouched. But the safe, the small fireproof one tucked behind my desk, gaped open like a wound. I dropped my briefcase, the thud echoing in the silence, and rushed over. Empty. The $20,000, 0 cents in cash, my emergency fund painstakingly saved over years, was gone. In its place, a crumpled Post-it note, the kind you'd find stuck to a fridge. Scrawled in Liam's sloppy handwriting, "I'm sorry, Em. I had no choice. Bigger player involved. I'll explain. Liam. My brother. The golden child who'd been draining my life since I was old enough to understand the word sacrifice." My hands shook as I crumpled the note, rage and betrayal surging through me. He'd done it again, smashed through my boundaries like they were paper, taken what was mine because he always got away with it. I sank to the floor, the hardwood cool against my palms, and tried to breathe. The money wasn't just cash, it was my safety net, my buffer against the chaos Liam brought every time he spiraled. And now it was gone, and I was exposed. The phone rang at 1:13 a.m., jarring me from a fitful doze on the couch. I'd been too wired to sleep, too angry to think straight, pacing my condo like a caged animal. The caller ID showed an unknown number, but I answered, my voice sharp. "Who is this?" "Emma Harper." The voice was low, gravelly, with a faint East Coast accent that didn't belong in Seattle. "Your brother owes us $75,000. He's out of time. You've got till Friday to make it right, or we start breaking things. Starting with him." My stomach lurched. "I don't know anything about his debts," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Leave me out of this." The man laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "He said you'd cover him. Family, right? Friday, Emma, or you'll both regret it." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. $75,000. Liam hadn't just stolen my emergency fund. He'd dragged me into a debt that could get us both killed. I thought of the note, bigger player involved. What the hell had he gotten himself into this time? Gambling, sure, that was his poison, but this felt different. Darker. I checked the locks again, my hands trembling, and sank back onto the couch, the city's skyline mocking me through the window. I'd spent my life building walls to keep Liam's chaos out, but he'd found a way to blow them apart. Morning came too fast, the Seattle sky a bruised gray that matched my mood. I'd barely slept, my mind replaying the break-in, the note, the call. I showered, threw on a blazer, and headed to work, determined to hold it together. My job at Nexus Tech was my lifeline. High stakes, high reward, and the only place where I felt in control. 3 months ago, I'd earned a promotion to senior cybersecurity analyst, a role that came with a corner office and a salary that finally let me breathe. I'd even started planning a vacation to Italy, my first real break in years. But as I sat at my desk, pretending to review firewall logs, my boss, Vanessa, poked her head in. "Emma, you good?" she asked, her tone clipped. "You look distracted, and we can't afford slip-ups on the Horizon account. This promotion's a big deal, but it's not a free pass." I forced a smile, my stomach twisting. "Just a rough night. I'm on it." She nodded, but her eyes lingered, skeptical. "Make sure you are. The board's watching." The warning stung. I'd fought tooth and nail for this job, outworking colleagues who had trust funds and safety nets I could only dream of. But one misstep, one distraction, and it could all unravel. Liam wasn't just stealing my money. He was threatening everything I'd built. I was still reeling when my phone buzzed with a text from my mom, Susan. "We're in Seattle. At your place in 20. We need to talk." No heads up, no courtesy call. Just the assumption I'd drop everything. I rubbed my temples, the weight of the night pressing harder. My parents, Richard and Susan, lived in Tacoma, a 90-minute drive away. They rarely visited unless Liam was in trouble, and after last night I knew this wasn't a social call. They were waiting in the lobby when I got home, my father's arms crossed, my mother clutching her purse like a lifeline. Richard, a retired history teacher, had the stern posture of a man who believed he was always right. Susan, softer but no less complicit, had the nervous energy of someone who'd spent decades smoothing over family disasters. I led them upstairs, my condo feeling smaller with their presence. "Nice place, Emma," my father said, but his tone carried an edge, like he resented me for having it. "You've done well for yourself." "Thanks," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "What's this about?" Susan glanced at Richard, her hands twisting. "It's Liam," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's in trouble. Big trouble." I crossed my arms, the note and the phone call flashing in my mind. What kind of trouble? Richard didn't hesitate. He owes $75,000. Bad people, Emma. They're threatening him. Jail, or worse. We need you to sell this place. He gestured at my condo like it was a pawn shop trinket. Property values are up. You'd clear enough to cover his debts and then some. I stared at them, my breath catching. Sell my condo? The words hit like a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. This wasn't just a home. It was my proof that I could survive without them, that I didn't need their approval or their excuses. I'd spent years scraping by, waiting tables, coding at 3 a.m., skipping meals to afford rent, because they'd taken my college fund when I was 17 to bail Liam out of his first gambling mess. $40,000. Gone overnight, with promises of repayment that never came. And now, they wanted me to dismantle my life again. "You're serious," I said, my voice low, dangerous. "You want me to sell my home for Liam's screw-up?" "It's family," Richard said, his jaw tight. "This place, it's just property. Liam's life is at stake." "Dressed property?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "This is my life. I worked 60-hour weeks for this. I ate dollar store pasta for years. Where was family when I was sleeping 4 hours a night to pay for college? Susan's eyes filled with tears. Emma, please, he could die. These people, they're not bluffing. I thought of the gravelly voice on the phone, the note in the safe. My anger faltered, guilt creeping in. What if they were right? What if Liam was in real danger? But then I remembered the pattern. Liam's crises, my parents' panic, my sacrifice. It was a script we'd played out too many times. And where would I live? I asked, my voice rising. You think I can just pack up and start over? Rent's insane in Seattle, and I'm not commuting 3 hours from Tacoma every day. You'd figure it out, Richard said, dismissing me like I was still a teenager. You always do. That's what makes you strong. Strong, I snapped. You mean convenient. You've bailed Liam out his whole life. His car accidents, his failed startups, his gambling. When have you ever had my back? That's not fair, Susan said, her voice trembling. We've always supported you. Supported me? I stepped closer, my hands clenched. You took my college fund. You let Liam live rent-free while I worked 3 jobs. You called my coding awards cute while you framed his participation trophies. Don't talk to me about support. Richard's face reddened. This is family money, he said, his voice hard. We raised you. We gave you everything. You wouldn't have this fancy condo without us. The audacity of it stole my breath. Family money. As if my sleepless nights, my calloused hands, my relentless hustle were their gift to me. I wanted to scream, to throw them out, but the phone call from last night echoed in my head. $75,000. A deadline, a threat. I was trapped, and they knew it. I need time, I said finally, my voice tight. Get out. We're not leaving until this is settled, Richard said, planting himself like a statue. Get out. I pointed to the door, my hand shaking. Something in my tone, raw, unyielding, made them move. Susan grabbed her purse, tears streaming. Richard shot me a look that could have burned through steel. But they left. I locked the door behind them, my knees buckling. I slid to the floor, the weight of their demand crushing me. My condo, my haven, was on the line. Liam's note burned in my pocket, bigger player involved. Who was he tangled with? And why did I feel like this was only the beginning? The next evening, I walked home from the light rail, the city's pulse a dull roar around me. Pike Place was alive with tourists, the air thick with the smell of fish and coffee, but I barely noticed. My mind was a storm. Liam's theft, my parents' ultimatum, the loan shark's threat. I turned onto my street, the condo building's sleek glass facade glinting in the dusk, when I felt it, eyes on me. I glanced back, my heart tripping. A black SUV idled half a block away, its tinted windows impenetrable. It didn't move, but I knew it was watching. I quickened my pace, my keys gripped like a weapon, and slipped into my building, my breath ragged. Inside my condo, I double-checked the locks and pulled the curtains. The safe still gaped open, a mocking reminder of Liam's betrayal. I poured a glass of wine, my hands unsteady, and called Claire Donovan, my best friend since college. A lawyer with a razor-sharp mind, she'd seen me through every family crisis. Her no-nonsense perspective a lifeline. Nellie did what? Claire's voice crackled through the phone, her outrage instant. Sell your condo? Are you kidding me? And Liam broke in, I said, my voice breaking. Stole 20 grand, left a note about some bigger player. Then this guy called, threatening me over Liam's $75,000 debt. Emma, this is insane, Claire said. You need to go to the police, now. And say what? My brother's a thief and I'm being harassed by a loan shark? They'll tell me to file a report and call it a day. Meanwhile, my parents are ready to disown me if I don't fix this. Claire sighed, the sound heavy with years of shared history. This is classic Harper family nonsense. Liam screws up, your parents panic, and you're the one who pays. You've got to break this cycle, Em. You can't keep bailing him out. I know, I said, rubbing my eyes. But what if he's really in danger? What if these people come after him, or me? Then that's on Liam, she said firmly. He's 37, not a kid. His choices aren't your responsibility. We talked for an hour, Claire's logic cutting through my guilt. She was right. I'd been the family fixer for too long, cleaning up Liam's messes while my parents cheered his every stumble. But the note, the call, the SUV, they weren't just threats. They were a noose tightening around me. I hung up, promising to sleep on it, but sleep didn't come. Instead, I sat at my desk, staring at the safe, the note unfolded in front of me. Bigger player. The words gnawed at me, a puzzle I couldn't solve. The next morning, I met Rachel Kim, my mentor at Nexus Tech, for coffee at a cafe near the office. Rachel, a corporate risk manager with a knack for seeing through chaos, had guided me through my career's toughest moments. I needed her perspective not just as a colleague, but as someone who'd faced her own family dramas and come out stronger. Start from the beginning, Rachel said, her eyes sharp over her latte. I told her everything. The break-in, the stolen $20,000 0 cents, the loan shark, my parents' demand. I showed her Liam's note, my voice shaking as I described the SUV trailing me. Rachel listened, her expression growing darker with every detail. This isn't just about money, she said finally. Liam's dragged you into something dangerous, and your parents, they're enabling him, but they're also manipulating you. You need to protect yourself, Emma, legally, financially, physically. How? I asked, my voice small. They're my family. Family doesn't mean you owe them your life, she said. Start by quantifying what they've taken from you. Not just this 20 grand, but everything. College fund, loans, emotional toll. Numbers don't lie. They'll give you clarity. I nodded, her words anchoring me. And the threats? The note? Get a security system, she said. Cameras, alarms, the works. And don't engage with these people alone. If they call again, record it. You're a cybersecurity expert. Use those skills. As for the note, she tapped it with her finger. This bigger player sounds like someone pulling Liam's strings. Dig into his recent moves, emails, texts, anything. You're good at finding patterns. Find this one. I left the cafe with a plan, fragile but real. Back at my condo, I spent hours combing through old bank statements, loan documents, and emails from Liam. The numbers were staggering. $40,000, 0 cents college fund, $15,000, 0 cents defaulted loan I'd co-signed, $8,000, 0 cents in emergency transfers, plus the $20,000, 0 cents he'd just stolen. With interest and missed investment opportunities, it totaled $105,000, 0 cents. A fortune. My fortune bled dry over 15 years. But it was an email from Liam, forwarded 2 weeks ago, that stopped me cold. Buried in a chain about a Vegas deal, he'd written, "This is the big one, Em. If it goes south, I'm done." Attached was a contract, unsigned with a name I didn't recognize, Victor Kessler. A quick Google search turned up nothing concrete, just whispers on obscure forums about a Seattle tech mogul with ties to underground betting rings. My skin prickled. Was Kessler the bigger player? And why had Liam sent me this? Friday loomed, the loan shark's deadline a ticking bomb. I installed a security system, the cameras blinking red in every corner of my condo. At work, I was a ghost, my focus shattered by the weight of it all. My co-worker, Jared, a smug analyst who'd been gunning for my promotion, noticed. "Rough week, Harper?" he said, his smile too sharp. "Heard you've been dropping the ball. Hope it doesn't cost you." I ignored him, but his words lingered. Vanessa's warning, Jared's jab, they were reminders that my career, like my condo, was a house of cards. One push and it could collapse. That night, as I walked home, the SUV was back. It followed me for 3 blocks, slow and deliberate, its engine a low growl. I ducked into a crowded bar, my heart pounding, and waited until it passed. When I finally got home, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from the same unknown number. "Tick-tock, Emma. You're out of moves." I saved the message, my hands shaking. Claire was right. I needed the police, but first I needed answers. I opened my laptop and dug deeper into Liam's email, cross-referencing names, dates, anything that could tie to Kessler. The deeper I went, the murkier it got. Shell companies, offshore accounts, cryptic messages about the game. Liam wasn't just gambling, he was in over his head with people who played for blood. Sunday morning, my parents returned, this time with Liam. He looked like hell. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, his usual charm replaced by something broken. Richard and Susan sat on my couch, their faces a mix of desperation and defiance. Liam wouldn't meet my eyes, his hands fidgeting in his lap. "We need an answer," Richard said, his voice like gravel. "Friday's gone. These people aren't waiting." "I know," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I got a call. Threats. Because of him." I pointed at Liam, who flinched. "Emma, please," Susan said, tears spilling. "He's your brother. We're family." "Family?" I stood, my voice rising. "Family doesn't break into my home. Family doesn't steal 20 grand and leave me to clean up a $75,000 mess. Family doesn't demand I sell everything I've worked for." Liam finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "I didn't mean for this, Em. It got out of control." "Out of control." I laughed, the sound raw. "You've been out of control since you were 16, Liam. And they," I pointed at our parents, "keep wiping the slate clean. But not me, not anymore." Richard stood, his face red. "This is about family money. You owe us. You owe him." I grabbed a manila envelope from my desk, the one I'd prepared after Rachel's advice. "Owe you?" I said, slamming it on the coffee table. "This is what I've paid. $105,000. Over 15 years. College fund, loans, handouts. Documented. Every cent." Susan gasped, her hand covering her mouth. Richard stared at the envelope, his jaw tight. Liam looked up, his eyes meeting mine for the first time. Shame flickered there, but I wasn't done. "I'm not selling," I said, "but I'm not abandoning you either. I'll loan you the money to cover the immediate threat, but there are conditions. You enroll in a gambling addiction program. You sign a legal contract to repay me. You meet with a financial counselor. Non-negotiable." Richard laughed, bitter. "You're dictating terms to your own brother." "Someone has to," I said. "You never did." Susan reached for me, her voice pleading. "Emma, can't we just—" "No," I cut her off. "We've done it your way. It's broken. This is my way." Liam nodded, his voice barely audible. "I'll do it. Whatever you want." Richard stared at him, stunned. Susan sobbed, but for the first time I saw something shift in her eyes. Relief, maybe? Or recognition? The room was silent, the weight of 15 years pressing down on us. I'd drawn a line, and for the first time, I wasn't the one bending. As they left, I locked the door, my hands still shaking. The envelope sat on the table, a testament to my fight. But the note, the email, the SUV, they lingered, shadows I couldn't shake. Who was Victor Kessler? What was the game? And why did I feel like I'd just stepped into a trap bigger than any of us could handle? I poured another glass of wine, the city's lights flickering outside. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. But for the first time in my life, I was ready to fight, not just for my condo, but for myself. The brick shattered my living room window at 10:37 a.m., a jagged explosion of glass that sent my parents and Liam ducking for cover. I stood frozen, the manila envelope still in my hand, my heart hammering so loud I barely heard Susan scream. The missile skidded across my hardwood floor, trailing a note tied with twine. 48 hours, pay or bleed. The words were scrawled in red ink, smeared like blood. My condo, my sanctuary near Pike Place Market, felt like a war zone. Richard scrambled to his feet, his face ashen, while Liam stared at the brick, his gaunt frame trembling. Susan clutched my arm, her nails digging in. "Emma, what have you done?" she whispered, as if I'd thrown the damn thing myself. I yanked free, my voice sharp. "What have I done? This is Liam's mess." I pointed at my brother, who looked like he'd aged a decade overnight. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, his once charming swagger reduced to a jittery wreck. The spreadsheet I'd just handed them, detailing the $105,000 0 cents he'd cost me over 15 years, lay forgotten on the coffee table. $40,000 from my college fund, $15,000 from a defaulted loan I co-signed, $8,000 in emergency handouts, plus interest and lost opportunities, numbers that screamed betrayal, now overshadowed by the jagged hole in my window. Richard rounded on me, his voice booming. "This is your fault, Emma. You're dragging your feet, playing games with your fancy charts, while your brother's life is on the line." "My fault?" I laughed, the sound raw and bitter. "You're the ones who've bailed him out every time he's crashed and burned. You took my future at 17 to fix his gambling debts, and now you want my home? Where does it end, Dad?" Liam's voice, hoarse and small, cut through the tension. "I didn't know it'd come to this, Em, I swear." I turned on him, my anger a living thing. "You swore you'd pay back the college fund. You swore the loan was a sure thing. You broke into my safe, Liam, stole 20 grand and left me to deal with your loan sharks. What's your word worth?" He flinched, his hands twisting in his lap. Susan sobbed louder, accusing me with her eyes. "You're abandoning him," she said, her voice breaking. "Your own brother." The room spun, guilt and rage warring inside me. I wanted to scream that I'd been abandoned first, by parents who chose Liam's chaos over my dreams, by a brother who'd taken everything I'd built, but the note on the brick burned in my periphery. 48 hours. The loan shark's call from Friday night echoed, "You'll both regret it." I was trapped, and they knew it. I grabbed the spreadsheet, thrusting it at Richard. "This is what I've paid for your family. $105,000, Dad. 15 years of my blood and sweat, and you call my condo family money? I earned every inch of this place. 60-hour weeks, skipped meals, no vacations. You don't get to demand it." Richard's face reddened, but before he could retort, a shadow moved outside my window. I spun, my pulse spiking. Across the street, a figure stood under a street lamp, tall, hooded, motionless, watching. My breath caught. Was this the loan shark, the bigger player Liam's note mentioned? I pointed, but when my parents turned, the figure was gone, swallowed by the Seattle drizzle. "What is it?" Susan asked, her voice trembling. "Nothing," I lied, my skin crawling. I couldn't tell them about the SUV that had followed me, the slashed tires on my car last night with their own note. Pay up, or next time it's you. They'd panic, and I needed control. I turned back to Liam, my voice steel. You've got one chance to fix this. I'll loan you enough to cover the immediate debt, the part that's got bricks flying through my window. But there are conditions. Richard scoffed. Conditions? You're dictating terms to your own brother? Someone has to, I snapped. You never did. I pulled another envelope from my desk, the one I'd prepared after meeting Rachel Kim, my mentor at Nexus Tech. First, you enroll in a gambling addiction program. I've found one starts Monday. Second, you sign a legal loan agreement, repayment with interest, enforceable by law. Third, you meet weekly with a financial counselor who specializes in addiction, non-negotiable. Susan gasped, horrified. A contract? Between siblings? Yes, I said, unflinching. History hasn't given me reason to trust him. Liam flinched again, but I pressed on. If you refuse, I'm out. You deal with your bigger player alone. Richard's voice was ice. This is betrayal, Emma. You're no daughter of mine if you do this. The words hit like a blade, slicing through years of unspoken hurt. Disowned. Again. I'd heard it before, when I refused to co-sign another loan at 23, when I skipped a family Christmas to work overtime. But this time it burned deeper, because I was standing my ground. I pointed to the door. Get out! All of you. We're not leaving, Richard said, planting himself like a wall. Then I'll call the police, I said, my phone already in hand. Explain the brick, the threats, the stolen 20 grand. Your choice. Something in my tone, raw, unyielding, broke through. Susan grabbed Richard's arm, her sobs quieter now. Liam stood, his eyes meeting mine for the first time. I'll do it, he said, his voice barely audible. The program, the contract, all of it. Richard stared at him, stunned. Liam, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Liam cut in louder now. She's right. I've been running from this too long. I've hurt her, hurt all of us. His admission hung in the air, a crack in the family script we'd followed for decades. Susan's tears turned to something else. Relief, maybe. Or grief for the son she'd enabled. I nodded, my throat tight. We'll meet tomorrow to sign the papers. Now go. They left, the door clicking shut behind them. I sank to the floor, glass crunching under my knees, the bricks note staring up at me. 48 hours. The shadowy figure, the SUV, the slashed tires, they weren't random. Someone was watching, waiting. And Liam's email, the one about a Vegas deal with Victor Kessler's name, gnawed at me. I'd spent hours digging last night, finding only fragments. A forum post about Kessler, a Seattle tech mogul with rumored ties to illegal betting rings. Was he the one pulling Liam's strings? And why was I in his crosshairs? I called Claire Donovan that night, my best friend since our University of Washington days. A lawyer with a bullshit detector sharper than a razor. She'd been my anchor through every family storm. I paced my condo, the boarded-up window a grim reminder of the morning, and told her everything. The brick, the spreadsheet, Liam's promise, the figure across the street. Extortion, Claire said, her voice hard. That's what this is. Your parents are guilting you into bailing out Liam, and these thugs are using fear to make you pay. You can't let them win, Em. I'm not, I said, but my voice wavered. I gave Liam terms, addiction program, loan contract, counseling, but Richard threatened to disown me, and Susan's acting like I'm killing him. Claire snorted. Disown you? What's there to disown? The privilege of cleaning up Liam's messes? You've been on your own since 17, Em. They don't get to claim you now. Her words were a lifeline, but the threats loomed larger. "Claire, my tires were slashed last night. There was a note, 'Pay up or next time it's you.' And today someone was watching my building. I think it's tied to this Kessler guy Liam mentioned in an email." "Jesus," Claire said. "You need a restraining order, a security detail, something. And Kessler? If he's who you think, he's bad news. I'll pull some strings, see what I can find. But you need to protect yourself. Get a gun, Em." Again, I stopped, pacing, my stomach twisting. "I'm not that person. You're a cybersecurity expert who's being stalked by loan sharks," she said. "You're that person now." We talked until midnight, Claire promising to dig into Kessler and send me a contact for a private investigator. I hung up, exhausted but wired, and checked my security cameras. The street was empty, but the hairs on my neck stood up. I grabbed my laptop and dove back into Liam's email, the one about the Vegas deal. The contract mentioned a $200,000 0-cents investment in a crypto scheme with Kessler's name as the primary stakeholder, and Liam's note, "If it goes south, I'm done," felt like a confession. Had he borrowed from Kessler to cover losses? Was the $75,000 0 cents just the tip of the iceberg? Monday morning, I dragged myself to Nexus Tech, my eyes gritty from sleeplessness. The Horizon account presentation was in 3 days, a make-or-break moment for my promotion, but Jared, the co-worker who'd been gunning for my job, was already stirring trouble. I overheard him in the break room, his voice low but deliberate. "Emma's been off her game," he told a colleague, "missing deadlines, distracted, not sure she's cut out for senior analyst." I clenched my coffee mug, rage simmering. Jared had been jealous since I got the promotion, his passive-aggressive jabs escalating to outright sabotage. If he convinced Vanessa I was unreliable, I could lose everything: my job, my stability, my future. I confronted him in the hallway, my voice low. "Keep my name out of your mouth, Jared. You don't know what you're talking about." He smirked, unfazed. "Just calling it like I see it, Harper. Don't choke on the big leagues." I walked away, my hands shaking. The pressure was crushing. Liam's debt, the threats, my parents' ultimatum, and now Jared's rumors. I locked myself in my office and pulled up the Horizon files, but my focus was shot. Every creak of the building made me jump. Every notification on my phone felt like another threat. I checked my security app. The cameras showed nothing, but the memory of that hooded figure lingered. Rachel Kim met me for lunch at a diner near the office, her sharp eyes scanning my face. "You look like hell," she said, sliding into the booth. "What's happened since Friday?" I told her about the brick, the slashed tires, the figure across the street. I showed her the Vegas email, the Kessler contract. Rachel's expression darkened. "This is bigger than a loan shark, Emma. Kessler's name keeps popping up in shady deals. Crypto scams, underground betting, even whispers of organized crime. Liam's not just in debt. He's in bed with someone dangerous." "What do I do?" I asked, my voice small. "I can't sell my condo, but I can't let these people come after me." "You fight smart," Rachel said. "Your terms for Liam, stick to them. Get that contract signed, lock him into the program. But you need leverage on Kessler. Use your skills. Hack his digital footprint, emails, accounts, anything that ties him to Liam's debt. And document everything. If this goes south, you need evidence." "Hack him?" I swallowed hard. "That's illegal, Rachel." "Who's throwing bricks through windows?" she said. "You're not breaking laws. You're protecting yourself. Stay one step ahead." Nodded, her words igniting a spark of resolve. I'd spent years analyzing systems, finding vulnerabilities. If Kessler was the bigger player, I'd find his weak spots. but the risks were real. Legal, physical, personal. I was stepping into a game I didn't fully understand, and the stakes were my life. That afternoon, I met Claire's private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Mike Torres, at a coffee shop near Pike Place. He slid a folder across the table, his voice low. "Victor Kessler's a ghost, but I got some hits. Runs a tech shell company, Orion Ventures, out of Bellevue. No convictions, but he's been linked to illegal betting rings in Vegas and Seattle. Your brother's email mentions a crypto deal, probably a front for laundering. Kessler's not the type to chase small debts himself. If he's involved, someone bigger is pulling strings." "Someone bigger?" I asked, my stomach dropping. "Like who?" "No names yet," Mike said. "But Kessler's got ties to a syndicate out of Nevada. They don't play nice. That brick, the tires, it's their style. Watch your back, Emma. And get me anything else Liam sent you. Texts, voicemails, whatever." I handed him a USB with Liam's emails, my hands unsteady. There's a figure watching my building. Hooded, tall. Could it be one of them? Mike's eyes narrowed. "Maybe. I'll stake out your place tonight. But you need to stay sharp. Don't go anywhere alone." I left the coffee shop, the folder burning in my bag. The city felt hostile, every stranger a potential threat. I checked my phone. Another voicemail from the unknown number. I played it, my blood running cold. "You're making this harder than it needs to be, Emma. Pay, or we come for you next." Tuesday morning, I met Liam, Richard, and Susan at a lawyer's office in downtown Seattle. Claire had recommended her colleague, Sarah Nguyen, to draft the loan agreement. The office was sterile, all glass and steel, a stark contrast to the chaos of my life. Liam looked worse than Sunday, his hands shaking as he signed the contract. The terms were clear: $30,000, 0 cents to cover the most pressing debts, repayable with 5% interest over 5 years. He'd start the addiction program tomorrow and meet weekly with a counselor. Sarah notarized the document, her expression neutral, but I saw the pity in her eyes. Richard barely spoke, his silence louder than his usual bluster. Susan hugged Liam, whispering assurances, but when she looked at me, her eyes were guarded. "You're doing the right thing," she said, but it felt like a script, not a conviction. As we left, Liam pulled me aside, his voice low. "I'm sorry, Em. For the safe, for everything. I didn't know Kessler was like this." "Like what?" I pressed, my heart racing. "Who is he, Liam? What's the Vegas deal?" He glanced at our parents, then back at me. "It was supposed to be a sure thing. Crypto staking, high returns. Kessler fronted the cash, but when it tanked, he said I owed him. Then it got worse. Casinos, loans. I thought I could win it back. How much do you really owe?" I asked, dreading the answer. He swallowed hard. "More than 75, maybe 150. My knees buckled. 150,000. "Liam, why didn't you tell me?" "I was scared," he said, his voice breaking. "They're not just loan sharks, Em. Kessler's got people, big people. I didn't want you involved, but they knew about you, your job, your condo." I grabbed his arm, my voice a hiss. "Knew about me how?" "Your name came up," he said, his eyes darting away. "In meetings, they think you're good for the money." I released him, stepping back, my mind reeling. They'd targeted me, not just as leverage but as a mark. The brick, the tires, the calls, they weren't random. They were a campaign. And Liam had handed them my life on a platter. That night, I sat at my desk, my laptop glowing in the dark. The Horizon presentation was tomorrow, but I couldn't focus. Jared's rumors had spread. Vanessa had emailed requesting a check-in after the presentation. My job was slipping through my fingers, just as my safety was. I opened a new browser, my fingers trembling, and started digging into Kessler's digital footprint. Rachel was right. My cybersecurity skills were my edge. I traced Orion Ventures servers bypassing weak encryption and found a trove of emails. Most were mundane, but one caught my eye. A thread between Kessler and an unknown contact. Harper's sister is the key. Pressure her and he'll fold. My blood ran cold. They were talking about me. I was the key, not Liam. But why? My job? My condo? Or something bigger? I saved the email, my heart pounding, when my security app pinged. I opened the feed, and there he was, the hooded figure standing across the street, staring up at my window. I zoomed in, but the image was grainy, his face obscured. Then he raised a hand, pointing directly at the camera, and walked away. I called Mike, my voice shaking. "He's back. The Watcher. Just now." "I'm on my way," Mike said. "Stay put. Lock everything." I checked the doors, the windows, my pulse racing. The condo felt like a trap, its walls closing in. I grabbed a kitchen knife, the blade cold in my hand, and waited. Minutes later, Mike texted. "No one here, but I found a cigarette butt under the lamp. Fresh. He's real, Emma." I'll keep digging. Wednesday's presentation was a disaster. I stood in the boardroom, my slides projected on the screen, but my mind was elsewhere. The Watcher, Kessler, Liam's $150,000 0 cents debt. I stumbled over figures, missed cues, and when Vanessa asked a follow-up question, I blanked. Jared smirked from the back, his victory palpable. After, Vanessa pulled me aside, her voice cold. "Emma, this isn't the performance I expected. We'll talk tomorrow. Get it together." I nodded, my throat tight, and fled to my office. I was losing everything, my job, my home, my safety. But I wasn't done. I opened my laptop, diving back into Kessler's emails. Another thread mentioned a Nevada meet next week, with a cryptic reference to the syndicate. I cross-referenced it with Liam's Vegas email, and a pattern emerged. Dates, amounts, names. Kessler wasn't just a player, he was a middleman, answering to someone higher, someone who wanted me in the game. I called Claire, my voice urgent. "I found something. Kessler's working for a syndicate. They're targeting me, not just Liam. I'm in their emails." "Slow down," Claire said. "You hacked him? Emma, that's dangerous. If they trace it—" "I know," I said, "but I can't stop now. They're planning something big, and I'm part of it." "Get that evidence to Mike," she said, "and come stay with me. Your condo's not safe." I hesitated. Leaving felt like surrender. But the Watcher, the brick, they were closing in. "Okay," I said, "tonight." That evening, I packed a bag, my hands shaking. The condo was quiet, the boarded window a grim reminder of the stakes. I checked the cameras one last time, and my heart stopped. The hooded figure was back, but this time he wasn't alone. A second man stood beside him, shorter, stockier, holding something that glinted in the streetlight. A gun? I grabbed my phone, dialing Mike, but before he answered, a loud bang shook the building. Not my door. Downstairs, the lobby. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell, heavy and fast. I dropped the phone, my breath hitching. They were coming for me. I ran to the kitchen, clutching the knife, and barricaded myself in the bathroom, the only room with a lock. The footsteps stopped outside my door, followed by a low chuckle. "Emma," a voice called, the same gravelly tone from the phone. "Open up. We just want to talk." I didn't answer, my heart pounding. The door rattled, then a loud crack as they kicked it. I pressed against the bathroom door, the knife trembling in my hand. This is it, I thought. This is how it ends. But then sirens wailed outside, sharp and close. The footsteps retreated, voices cursing as they fled. I waited, shaking, until Mike's voice came through the door. "Emma, it's me. They're gone." I opened the door, tears streaming down my face. Mike stood in my wrecked living room, his gun holstered, a patrol car's lights flashing outside. "Neighbors called it in," he said. "You're lucky. But you can't stay here." I nodded, my voice gone. The knife clattered to the floor and I grabbed my bag. As we left, I glanced at the coffee table where Liam's note still lay, bigger player involved. I'd been playing defense, reacting to their moves, but no more. I'd find Kessler, the syndicate, the truth, and I'd make them pay. At Claire's apartment, I collapsed on her couch, the weight of the night crashing down. She poured me a whiskey, her face grim. "You're in deep, Em, but you're not alone. We'll figure this out." I nodded, the spreadsheet and Kessler's emails burning in my mind. I'd given Liam a chance, but this wasn't just about him anymore. It was about me, my life, my fight. I opened my laptop, pulling up the hacked emails. One line stood out, buried in a thread. "Harper's condo is the leverage. Push harder." My condo, not just a home, but a target. Why? Its value? Its location? Or something I hadn't seen? I looked at Claire, my voice steady. "I'm not running. I'm going to end this." She nodded, her eyes fierce. "Then let's do it. Together." The next morning, I met Mike at a diner, handing him the email printouts. He scanned them, his jaw tight. "This is enough to get the feds interested," he said. "But it's dangerous, Emma. These people don't play. You need to disappear until we can move." "Disappear?" I shook my head. "I have a job, a life. I'm not letting them win." "You don't have a choice," he said. "They broke into your building. Next time they won't run." I leaned forward, my voice low. "Then help me fight. Find Kessler. Find the syndicate. I'll keep digging, but I need you to watch my back." Mike sighed, then nodded. "Deal, but you do exactly what I say." Friday, I stood in Vanessa's office, my heart pounding. The Horizon presentation had tanked, and Jared's rumors had done their damage. "Emma," Vanessa said, her voice cold, "your performance has been inconsistent. I'm putting you on probation. One more slip, and..." I nodded, my throat tight. "Understood, I'll fix it." I left, Jared's smirk burning in my periphery. But I wasn't broken. I was angry. I went to my office, locked the door, and pulled up Kessler's emails again. A new one had arrived, forwarded from an anonymous account. "Nevada meet Tuesday. Harper's in or she's out, permanently." My breath caught. Tuesday, 4 days. They were planning something, and I was at the center. I called Mike, my voice urgent. "They're meeting in Nevada, Tuesday. We need to move." "I'm on it," he said. "But you stay low, no heroics." I hung up, my resolve hardening. No heroics, but no surrender either. I'd spent my life fixing Liam's messes, but this was my fight now. I opened a new file, titled Kessler, and started mapping every connection. Emails, names, dates. The syndicate wanted me in their game. Fine, I'd play. And I'd win. That night, Claire and I sat on her balcony, the Seattle skyline glittering below. I told her about the emails, the Nevada meet, my plan. She listened, her face a mix of fear and pride. "You're crazy," she said, "but I'm with you. Just don't die, okay?" I laughed, the sound shaky but real. "Deep." She raised her glass, her voice soft. "To boundaries. And to you, Em, for having the guts to set them." I clinked my glass against hers, a weight lifting. The threats, the break-in, the betrayal. They'd tried to break me, but I was still here, still fighting. And as the city lights flickered, I felt a spark of hope. I wasn't just surviving, I was rebuilding, piece by piece. Kessler, the syndicate, my family. They'd underestimated me, and that was their mistake. The parking garage was a concrete labyrinth, its fluorescent lights flickering like a dying pulse. I'd stayed late at Nexus Tech, scrambling to salvage my Horizon presentation notes after Wednesday's disaster, when the elevator doors opened to level B3. My car, a beat-up Honda Civic, sat alone in the dim corner, its slashed tires a grim reminder of last week's warning. I gripped my keys, the sharp end protruding between my knuckles, and scanned the Seattle's rain drummed on the roof above, a steady roar that masked smaller sounds, like the footsteps that started behind me. I quickened my pace, my heart thudding, but the steps matched mine, deliberate and heavy. I glanced back, and there he was, a thug in a black leather jacket, his face half hidden under a baseball cap, a scar slicing across his cheek. He was big, built like a linebacker, and his eyes locked on me with predatory focus. "Emma Harper," he said, his voice a low growl, "you're out of time. 75 grand now, or your brother's not the only one who bleeds." I froze, my back against my car, the keys trembling in my hand. The garage was empty, the security cameras conveniently dark. Sabotaged, I realized later. "I don't have that kind of money," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Liam's handling his debt. Talk to him." The thug stepped closer, his breath sour with cigarette smoke. "Liam's a dead end. You're the one with the fancy job, the condo. Kessler says you're good for it." He pulled a knife, its blade glinting under the flickering light. "Pay up, or I carve you first." Kessler. The name hit like a punch, tying this thug to Liam's cryptic note and the Vegas email. My mind raced, calculating exits. The stairwell was 30 feet away, but he'd catch me before I reached it. I raised my hands, palms out, stalling. "I'm working on it," I lied. "Give me a week. I'll get the money." He laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You got till tomorrow, midnight, or we come for you both." He lunged, the knife grazing my arm as I twisted away, slamming against the car. Pain flared, but adrenaline surged harder. I ducked under his arm, sprinting for the stairwell, my sneakers pounding the concrete. He cursed, his footsteps thundering behind me, but I hit the door, bursting into the lobby where a startled security guard fumbled for his radio. The thug didn't follow, vanishing into the garage's shadow. I collapsed against the wall, my arm bleeding through my sleeve, my breath ragged. The guard called 911, but I barely heard him. Kessler knew me. My job, my condo, my life. This wasn't just about Liam's $150,000 0 cents debt anymore. It was personal, and I was the target. The hospital stitched my arm. 7 stitches, a shallow cut but a stark warning. Mike Torres, the private investigator Claire had hooked me up with, met me there, his face grim as he took my statement. "This is escalating," he said, flipping through his notebook. "Kessler's syndicate doesn't mess around. That thug wasn't a lone wolf. He's muscle for someone higher up." "Who?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "Who's above Kessler?" Mike hesitated, his eyes scanning the ER's bustle. "No names yet, but I've got a lead. A money launderer in Vegas tied to Orion Ventures. Kessler's just a cog. You need to lay low, Emma. Stay with Claire. Keep your head down." "I can't," I said, my jaw tight. "I've got a high-stakes conference presentation next week. My job's on the line, and Liam's finally in a recovery program. I can't let him derail now." Mike sighed, rubbing his stubbled jaw. "Then you're playing with fire. I'll tail Kessler's known associates, But you watch your back, and that email you found, Harper's sister, is the key. It's not just about money. They want something from you. Figure out what. I nodded, my mind spinning. The email buried in Kessler's hacked server haunted me. Harper's sister is the key. Pressure her and he'll fold. Was it my condo worth $600,000, 0 cents in Seattle's skyrocketing market? My cybersecurity expertise, which could crack their systems? Or something I hadn't seen, tied to Liam's past incident his counselor had hinted at? I left the hospital, my arm throbbing, and headed to Claire's apartment, the city's neon glow feeling like a trap closing around me. Claire's place was a fortress compared to my compromised condo. Keycard entry, 24/7, doorman, cameras everywhere. She poured me a whiskey, her lawyer's calm fraying at the edges. "You could have died, Em," she said, her voice shaking. "This isn't just Liam's mess anymore. It's a war." "I know," I said, sinking onto her couch. "But I can't run. Kessler's syndicate thinks I'm the key, and I need to know why. Liam's in a program, but he's still hiding something. And my parents, they're starting to pay me back small amounts, but it's like they're tiptoeing around the truth." Claire's eyes narrowed. "Paying you back? After that spreadsheet? They owe you $105,000. 0 cents. M. 40 grand for your college fund, 15 for that loan, 8 in handouts, plus interest. That's guilt money, not accountability." I pulled out my phone, showing her the latest bank transfer. $500, 0 cents from Richard and Susan, the 3rd monthly installment since our confrontation. "It's symbolic," I said, "but it's something." And Liam, he apologized, admitted he was jealous of me, my success. He's never done that before. Claire snorted, but her expression softened. "Jealous? Liam's been riding your coattails since you were kids. Your coding awards, your scholarships, ignored while his failed startups got standing ovations. But an apology doesn't erase 150 grand in debt. Or that thug in the garage." I nodded, the whiskey burning my throat. "His counselor mentioned a past incident that fueled his gambling. I need to know what it was. And Kessler, Mike thinks he's a middleman for a Vegas syndicate. I found another email today about a Nevada meet next Tuesday." "I'm going." "Going?" Claire's glass hit the table hard. "To Nevada? With a syndicate hunting you? Are you insane?" "Maybe," I said, a grim smile tugging at my lips. "But I'm done being their pawn. I'll hack deeper, find their plans. If I can expose Kessler, I can end this." Claire stared at me, then sighed. "Fine. But I'm coming with you, and we're telling Mike, no solo heroics." I agreed, relief flooding me. Claire was my rock, the one person who'd never let me drown. But as I lay on her guest bed that night, the thug's knife flashed in my mind, and the question burned. What did Kessler want from me? Monday morning, I threw myself into conference prep, but my heart wasn't in it. The Nexus Tech Cybersecurity Summit was the biggest stage of my career, a chance to present our new encryption protocol to industry giants. Vanessa had assigned me the keynote, a vote of confidence despite my probation, but Jared's sabotage was gaining traction. I'd overheard him in the break room whispering to a senior VP. Emma's distracted, dropping balls left and right. Not sure she can handle the spotlight. I checked my email and found an anonymous tip to HR accusing me of missing deadlines. Jared's handwriting all over it. I stormed to HR, my evidence in hand, screenshots of my completed tasks, timestamps proving I'd met every deadline. The HR rep, a no-nonsense woman named Priya, listened, her expression neutral. "We'll investigate," she said. "But this is serious, Emma. If these claims hold, it could cost you your role." I left her office, my stomach churning. Jared wasn't just jealous, he was orchestrating my downfall. If I lost this job, I'd lose my condo, my stability, everything I'd fought for. I called Rachel Kim, my mentor, and met her at a cafe near Pike Place. Her sharp eyes scanned my bandaged arm, her voice low. "You're in deep, Emma. The conference, Jared, Kessler." "This is a perfect storm." "I know," I said, my voice tight. "But I can't back down. Liam's in a recovery program attending daily sessions. He's trying, Rachel. And my parents, they're paying me back a little each month. But Kessler's syndicate is targeting me, and I don't know why." Rachel leaned forward, her voice urgent. "You're a cybersecurity expert. They might want your skills, access to systems, data, clients. Or your condo's location. Pike Place is prime real estate, maybe a front for their operations. Keep digging into Kessler's emails, and at the conference, nail that keynote. Show Vanessa you're untouchable." I nodded, her words reigniting my fire. Back at my desk, I hacked deeper into Orion Ventures servers, my fingers flying. A new email thread mentioned the Nevada meet. Harper's condo is the leverage. Secure it by Tuesday, or the boss pulls the plug. My condo. Not just a target, but the syndicate. Was it the property value, a strategic location for their syndicate? I saved the email, my resolve hardening. I'd protect my home, my life, no matter the cost. Tuesday night, I sat in a family therapy session with Dr. Laura Bennett, a calm, incisive therapist who'd seen her share of dysfunctional families. Richard, Susan, Liam, and I arranged ourselves in her office, a cozy space with soft lighting and too many throw pillows. The air was thick with tension, the brick incident and my garage attack unspoken but heavy. Dr. Bennett started with Liam, who fidgeted, his recovery program badge pinned to his shirt. "Liam, you've agreed to Emma's terms," she said. "What does that mean to you?" He swallowed, his eyes darting to me. "It means I'm done running. I've got a gambling addiction. I've hurt my family. Emma, most of all. I was jealous, always have been. She's everything I'm not. Smart, disciplined, successful. I resented her for it, and I took it out on her." His words hit like a wave, raw and unguarded. I stared at him, my throat tight. Richard shifted, uncomfortable, while Susan's eyes welled up. Dr. Bennett turned to me. "Emma, how does that feel to hear?" I took a breath, my voice shaking. It's the first time he's admitted it, but it doesn't erase the pain. Growing up, Liam was the golden child. His failed ventures got applause, while my coding awards were ignored. My parents took my college fund at $1740,000 to bail him out. I worked 3 jobs, lived in moldy apartments, while he got handouts. I've been sidelined my whole life, and now they want my condo. It's not just a home, it's proof I survived without them. Susan sobbed, her hands twisting. "We didn't mean to sideline you, Emma. We thought you were strong, that you didn't need us. Everyone needs to feel valued." Dr. Bennett said gently, "Emma, you've carried this family's burdens. That's not strength, it's unfairness."
Richard cleared his throat, his voice gruff. "I see it now, that spreadsheet. $105,000, 0 cents. I didn't realize all those years what we took from you. I started therapy, trying to understand why I enabled Liam. I was wrong, Emma. I'm sorry." The apology, small but real, cracked something in me. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. Susan reached for my hand, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. Liam spoke again, his voice softer. Dr. Bennett asked about a past incident. It's why I gamble. When I was 19, I got in with some Bad people, bookies, small-time crooks. They roughed me up, broke my arm. Dad paid them off, but I never got over the fear. Gambling became my escape, my way to feel in control. I stared at him, the pieces clicking. The incident, his first brush with danger, had set the cycle in motion. Richard's face paled, guilt etching deeper lines. Dr. Bennett guided us through the pain, naming the favoritism, the enabling, the hurt. No miracles happened, but something shifted, a crack in the wall we'd built around the truth. As we left, Richard pulled me aside. "We'll keep paying you back," he said, "not just the money, the respect you deserve." I nodded, my heart full and heavy. But the Nevada meet loomed, and Kessler's shadow grew longer. Wednesday, I started therapy with Deanna Lawrence, a specialist in family dynamics. In her quiet office, I unpacked the resentment, the guilt, the fear. "You've been conditioned to prioritize others," Deanna said. "Setting boundaries feels selfish because it's new, but it's strength, Emma. You're rewriting your story."
Her words grounded me, but the pressure was relentless. The conference was Monday, and my keynote prep was a mess. Jared's sabotage had escalated. He'd accidentally deleted a shared drive with my slides, forcing me to rebuild from scratch. I confronted him in the hallway, my voice low. "I know it was you, Jared. Keep it up, and I'll take this to Vanessa." He smirked, unfazed. "Good luck proving it, Harper. You're sinking fast." I walked away, my hands shaking, but I wasn't done. I restored the drive from a backup, working late into the night. At Claire's, I met Noah Carter, the data scientist from my financial literacy workshop. He'd texted, offering to help with my keynote visuals, and we met at a coffee shop near her place. His kind eyes and easy smile were a balm, a reminder of life beyond the chaos. "You're under a lot of pressure," he said, tweaking a chart on my laptop. "But you've got this. You're unstoppable, Emma." I blushed, warmth spreading through me. "Thanks, Noah. I'm not used to support." He grinned, his hand brushing mine. "Get used to it. I'm not going anywhere." Our coffee turned to dinner, then a walk along the waterfront, the city's lights reflecting on the Puget Sound. Noah respected my boundaries, his presence steady without demanding. For the first time, I felt seen, not as the fixer, but as me. But the Nevada meet was Sunday, and Kessler's emails were a ticking clock. Saturday, Mike called with a breakthrough. "Kessler's meeting a syndicate boss in Vegas, someone called the broker. They're using your condo as leverage, but it's not about the money. It's the location. Pike Place is a hub for their crypto laundering, a front for cash flow. They want you out, Emma, or in their pocket." My stomach dropped. "In their pocket? How?" "Your skills," Mike said. "You're a cybersecurity expert. They could use you to hack rival systems, cover their tracks, or they want you scared, selling cheap so they can snap up the property. The Nevada meet is their end game. I'm going with you and Claire. We'll crash it, get evidence for the feds." I agreed, fear and resolve colliding. That night, I hacked deeper, finding a photo in Kessler's server. A blurry shot of the broker, a man in a suit, face obscured, standing outside my condo. My blood ran cold. He'd been there, watching. The watcher wasn't just a thug. He was the puppet master. Sunday, Claire, Mike, and I flew to Vegas, the desert heat a stark contrast to Seattle's chill. The meet was at a nondescript warehouse on the city's outskirts, a shell company front. Mike had a contact in the Vegas PD, ready to move if we got evidence. We parked a block away, my laptop open, hacking into the warehouse's security feed. The screen flickered, showing Kessler and a dozen men. The broker at the head, a tall, silver-mailed man with a voice like ice. "Harper's condo is the key," he said. "We secure it, we control the Northwest hub. If she won't sell, we make her." My hands shook, rage surging. They weren't just after my home, they wanted my city. I recorded everything, my heart pounding, but the feed cut out, a firewall slamming shut. "They know we're here," I whispered. Mike cursed, grabbing his gun. "We need to move, now."
We sped away, the warehouse shrinking in the rear view, but a black SUV appeared, tailing us. Claire floored the gas, weaving through Vegas traffic, while Mike called his contact. The SUV rammed us, metal screeching, and I gripped the seat, my laptop sliding to the floor. "Hold on!" Claire shouted, swerving into an alley. The SUV missed, crashing into a dumpster, and we escaped, my breath ragged. Back at the hotel, Mike uploaded the footage to the feds, his face grim. "This is enough to start an investigation, but Kessler's still out there. You're not safe, Emma." I nodded, my resolve unbreakable. "Then we keep fighting." Monday's conference was my redemption. I stood on the Nexus Tech stage, 500 industry leaders watching, my keynote flawless. I unveiled our encryption protocol, my voice steady, Noah's charts perfect. Vanessa nodded from the front row, her skepticism gone. Jared's face was stone, his sabotage exposed when I presented Priya's HR report, clearing my name. The applause was deafening, a victory I'd earned. That night, I hosted a dinner at Claire's, my condo, still a crime scene. Claire, Noah, Richard, Susan, and Liam sat around the table, the air lighter than I'd ever known. Liam, 6 weeks into recovery, had landed a job as a financial clerk, paying small loan installments. Richard raised his glass, his voice thick. "To Emma, who taught me that saying no is the ultimate act of love." I was wrong. For years, you're the strongest of us. I blinked back tears, Susan squeezing my hand. Liam met my eyes, his smile tentative but real. "I'm trying, Em. For you." Noah's hand rested on mine, his presence a quiet strength. Claire grinned, her whiskey raised. "To boundaries," she said, and we laughed, the sound healing. 6 months later, the feds raided Kessler's operation, the broker's identity still a shadow. My condo was mine, my job secure, my family healing. Noah and I were building something real, my therapy with Diana a lifeline. I stood on my balcony, Seattle's skyline glittering, and felt it. Freedom. I'd faced a syndicate, a family, a past, and won. Not by sacrificing, but by standing my ground. Have you ever faced demands that tested your soul? Share your story. Like, subscribe, and join me for more tales of courage. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to a stronger you.